Recording in progress.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Apex Investor. This is the channel where stocks are simplified and profits hopefully are multiplied. This is the update for Friday, November the 12th. Actually, it's more like Thursday, November the 11th. We do weekly updates now, depending on when I can access the internet. So far so good. Let's look at the big loser of the day, NISN, negative 44%, and happy No Nut November for everybody who are doing the No Nut November. I'm doing it myself, so happy No Nut November. NUZE, I think that's how they say it in America, NUZE. They're the big winner, 163% gain. My goodness. And in terms of the trending stocks, I don't really see any stocks that I notice. I don't really, I'm not familiar with any of these stocks, so we'll move on to the trending stocks.
Recording in progress.
Okay, welcome back. So as you can see, my portfolio is down about 13% in total. I'm not losing heart about it. As long as I'm above 10,000, I'm pretty good. But if we can look at the big changers, the big movers, I should say, let's just scroll down here and see which ones we want to look at. That's the one that Wall Street Bets looks at. I don't really like that one personally. Vaxart is reaching pretty new lows there. IronNet is really struggling. Metamaterials is above $4. And moving down, no pun intended, but scrolling down, Sensonics. Clover, let's take a look at Clover. DWAC is still alive and kicking. McAfee, want to take a look at that, see what's going on there. Bitcoin is at 64,000. That seems to be pretty steady. There's one called Rivian I'm looking at. I don't know if they're public yet, but Rivian is going to be a really big stock. And I want to look at Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat is a really good buy at this point. I think it's a really good pickup. It's approaching an entry level, an appropriate entry level. Coinbase is pretty healthy, above $300. GameStop at 204. Take a look at that in the past 2 weeks. And AMC hovering near $40. Let's take a look at that as well. MMTLP still kicking in 171. That's pretty good. B Square, Newegg. All right, Canaan. Wow, Canaan shot up big time. Remember, they're at $6. You would have doubled your portfolio by buying Canaan. So that's one of the few Chinese stocks that I believe in. And look at that. It proved me right to believe in them. Lucid at $45. They're really picking up steam because their cars are out. People are buying them. People can see just how good they are. QuantumScape picking up too. SLGG up 12% today. Lucid up 10%. DDS, I think that's Dillard's. Yeah, oh my goodness. $325. I bought this really cheap at one point, but I just gave up on it. And Ride is up 23%. Lordstown, that's one I said will go up, and it went up 23% today. My goodness. What a cheap price to get that at. So we'll take a look at Rivian if that is public yet. Okay, let's wait for these to load. So Vaxart, the 52-week range, $477 to $25, and the days range was $650 to $674. Is this a good buy at this point? Well, they do have, they are the company that wants to come up with a COVID pill, and they might be successful. It's a gamble, but time will tell whether they will be successful or not. Looking at the last month, the support is looking like 640. The last 6 months, yeah, we're at right about at support right about now. The low point is 622, so maybe wait for 622 or even 5. Yeah, it might be better to wait for 5 to 550. So 5 to 6 is a good entry point for Vaxart, and this could go up to around $10. All right, looking at the next one in our trending stocks list, IronNet, trading between 1046 to 1079. The entry point is $9 to $10 at this point, and this is shooting right back up to 20, I believe, in the next 6 to 12 months. Probably 1 to 2 years, though, realistically, since they are a new startup. So IronNet, that's IronNet for you. Metamaterials, the darling of this channel. IronNet is second, and Clover is about third. And full disclosure, I do own positions in both Metamaterials and IronNet, and looking to buy some Clover stock. So we can see the days range 470 to 493. Let's look at the last week. So it was actually up at 528 this week. Wow, okay, so having a pretty good week overall. Good month, even. But long gone are the days of $3 and sub 4. We are trending upwards. Above $4, $5, and sometimes even $6. And things are going to get really interesting for Metamaterials in the new year, especially towards the end of the year, come December 28th, when the dividend expiration date takes place. They have to sell all the Torchlight assets by the 28th of December. And we'll see just how Metamaterials, the stock, and both the MMTLP will take off as well. Let's just take a look at MMTLP and take a look at the activity there. Let's look at the last 5 days. So yeah, we're actually trending upward too with MMTLP. Support for the dividend is $1 and around $1, $1.10. And I don't know if there's really resistance, probably at $2. But again, this is worth at least 10, 20, maybe even 40. But it's looking like at least $10 for this dividend. So you're getting this at a really good discount. Okay, next is Clover. We'll just go in the order of these tabs. So Clover, trading between 710 to 727, really close to my entry point of $6 to $7. I think 7 is a pretty safe entry point for this stock, and this could very likely go back to 20, but at least 14. I'm thinking 14 is kind of the lower end for Clover Health. So I'm going to look at the last 5 days here. Wow, we are up at $8. Wow, so it got shorted right away at 8. Yeah, the support for this is really strong at 6 to 7. So I would wait for it to drop below 7, pick it up, and wait for it to go to, I'm going to say 14. 13 even, 13, 14. 13's a pretty safe bet. It'll go there and you can sell that. It might go to 20, but that's if it squeezes a little. So maybe your best bet is 13. So buy it at 7, sell it at 13, almost doubling your portfolio just with Clover alone. Okay, DWAC, the social media company. They were at 56 at the low end, and at the high end around 60. Again, I do feel the entry point for this is looking at like between, again, 10 is your apex investor price point, around 10 to 20, and then hard mode, that's expert level, is 10 to 20. Hard mode, you're looking at 21 to about 40, and then easy mode or normal mode, I should say, is around 40 to 40 to 50, but 45 is just right. I think 50 is a little too high, so 45, pun intended, I guess, because this is related to the 45th president of America there. Okay, so volume has really died down. But that's DWAC for you. That could squeeze. We'll see. I don't know. Depends on how well that the launch goes for that social media enterprise. McAfee is an interesting stock. I heard it took off recently in the last week or two. So let's take a look at this. Was trading the last year 14 to 32. We're closer to the higher end. So yeah, they're not really at an entry point. I think this is too far. You're kind of chasing this one if you were to buy that at this level. I'm just going to give it a pause here until the chart loads. Kind of annoying.
Recording in progress.
Okay, welcome back. McAfee, wow. Something happened the last week. It was at 21. Jumped right up to 25. Did they do a stock split or something? This is such an interesting wall that just got propped up here. This was around $20 and then shot right up to 25. That's some interesting activity. It's pretty stable stock, but I think your entry point, you're looking at 14 to 15. I wouldn't buy this any higher than 20. But 14 to 15 is your expert entry point. Hard mode, you're looking at 15 to 20. Actually make that 15 to 17, and then the next tier is 17 to 20. So why did this shoot up? Going private. Okay, so it shot up because it's going private. All right. Yeah, this one's a little risky. GameStop. I do believe GameStop and AMC are still due for a MOASS, the mother of all short squeezes. I think that's still going to happen. That's still a potential scenario with everything that's going on in the world right now, with Evergrande, with inflation, with all these doomsday kind of scenarios. This could be one of those ingredients to really set off a chain reaction or be part of that chain reaction, whether it's a military, a big war or something. This could be one of the big dominoes to really tumble and set everything in motion. But 168 is looking like the entry point in the last month. Yeah, 140 to 150 again, really good entry point. And this is being shorted at around 210, 220. So that's GameStop for you. Next, we're going to look at AMC. The last 5 days here. All right, $38 looking like support here in the last week. The last month is looking like 30, 34. But when we zoom out even more, yeah, 30 is actually a pretty good level of support. You can sell this for about 50. It's being shorted around 50, 60. And I want to make sure I look at Beyond Meat. That one has taken a turn for the worse, but it's a good buy in my opinion. This was one of the stocks that really helped me to build my portfolio. I bought this around $70 initially. Sold it around 120. So this one is looking like a really good buy. It's trending that way. It was at 77, and that was my entry point, to be honest, 77. I think this has still got a way to go up. 77 is support for this, and the resistance is around 100 to 200. But let's just take a look at the bigger picture. So this is just people dooming and glooming here. You can see if you zoom out a little more, Resistance is 180. But just to be safe, 150 to 200 is your resistance. So you can sell any point between 150 to 200. And you can buy right now between 60, pretty much 60 to 77 is a really good entry point. But I'd say 60 to 70. You know what? Make that 50 to 60 expert mode, 60 to 70 hard mode, 70 to 77 your normal mode. And Beyond Meat is a really good stock. People can say whatever they want about it. I tried their products; they're pretty good. In all honesty, in all transparency, Impossible Burger is actually a better product. It tastes better. But the problem is they are not public. You can't buy their stock, Impossible Meat, or Impossible whatever. You can't buy their stuff or their stock. So Beyond Meat's the only game in town. But really good stock. You can see this, their price action here. So you can look forward to the stock going right back up to 150 to 200 in the next year. Most likely in the next 12 months. So if you don't mind waiting, you can almost double your portfolio in about a year's time. So this does take time. So that's a thing. Not everyone has the luxury to just wait. Some people, have to pay the bills and, survive, and I understand that. Lordstown, let's look at this one. Yeah, this was a really good buy at $4. So the entry point here is between $4 to $5, but just realistically, let's just say 460 to 5 is your entry point. This is going right back up to $12 at least, at the very least. This could go up to 30, but I'm going to just say 12, be a little conservative there with my estimate. And I do want to see if Rivian is public yet. Just take a look for Rivian, because that is a stock that people are really excited about. That could really explode. Could be the next, well, not Tesla, but mini Tesla. Oh, here we go. So it was trading between $95 to $125. I think it only went public just recently. So it's really, this is taken off. 22% gain just today. So I think this just went public recently again. Let me just give this a pause. Wait for the chart to load here.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so you know what? Rivian, we should give it some time to just let it settle down or settle up. Because right now, it just started. It just started trading November the 10th, which was literally yesterday. It opened at 78. Around 78. It says here 95. So this is just all the hype going on here. We have to wait for this to go back down. Wait to see what is the true entry point. It's hard to say right now. I'm going to say, just estimating maybe 70. Around 60, 70. I don't know. We'll see where it actually goes down to. It's hard to say what resistance is either. Support and resistance is too early to determine at this point in time. So I'm going to add this to my watch list. Rivian is a really good stock. It's up there with Lordstown and the other car stocks, EV stocks, Lucid and Tesla and so on. I can't remember the other one. I think it's Workhorse. Can't remember that, but I did mention in another video. Okay, so take a look at the news coming up right next.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so I'm going to try to just emulate Trey's Trades channel a little bit, not in terms of my personality, because I obviously am not like a Trey's personality. I'm not a big, a loud, very hyped up dude. Like I'm really, low-key. So let's just let's look at George Pelikaris' Twitter here. He posted a lot. Let me just go from the beginning, because I haven't seen this Twitter page in roughly 2 weeks now. I'm going to go all the way back to October just to get up to speed for my own benefit, as if I'm just doing it, for my own thing, because I like the stock. So let's take a look at how much he tweeted and retweeted. Okay, so I read this, covered that. Nanotech, yeah, I covered that. Join us, yeah, I covered that. This is the Meta thing with Facebook, October 28th. So they held this already. October 29th, physical technology such as nanomaterials, AR displays, and 5G connectivity, which Mark's team can use our tech. Okay. Sign up for November the 1st. What are your thoughts on Facebook changing their name? Would Meta consider partnering with Meta on AR glasses? That's a good question. So he says sign up. All I can say is that I applaud Mark Zuckerberg and Meta Platforms. Their multi-billion-dollar commitment to make the metaverse a reality. Our company, Metamaterials, has pioneered many of the fundamental physical technologies such as nanomaterials, optics, AR displays, and that's what the metaverse is about, putting the AR, combining that with social media, as well as XR and 5G connectivity. All right, retweet from November the 3rd. Lumachrome, metal dielectric film consisting of 3 layers, a semi-transparent metal layer, a dielectric layer, and a reflector layer. Okay, that just went over my head. I don't know what that means. In combination, they manipulate the incident white light to reflect a specific color, control brightness, and saturation. Okay, that sounds like something to do with reducing glare, maybe? I'm not sure. November the 3rd, we are excited to be exhibiting and presenting at AWE USA. That's a cool logo. Moving on, November the 4th, learn more about our growing IP portfolio and how it relates to the industries we're enabling here. So they have a growing portfolio of patents. They met their 200 patent goal. November the 8th, Nanotech will present Live Optic, combating counterfeits with a toolkit of authentication effects. On November the 17th, it's going to be interesting. It's coming up. Day 1 is already underway. That was yesterday. See Metamaterial Tech demos. Learn about our AR Fusion Lens Tech. Visit our booth. Join our CTO's presentation this afternoon. You can see their slides there. Okay, so they did present in front of Facebook and Microsoft and other people like that. So that's pretty big. We're going to go on to Wall Street Bets next, and then Metamaterials, and close out the show.
Recording in progress.
All right, welcome back. This is the Metamaterials subreddit. Explanation of MMTLP shares so everyone can see. Thank you, Cherry Grape Gorilla, for taking the time to type this. If you had MMTLP and you sold it, you will no longer get the dividend. Even if you had the preferred shares since June, all of these MMTLP are the real original preferred shares and are now indistinguishable from the original preferred shares. So if you do have MMTLP, you will get the dividend. If you do not have it, you will not get the dividend. It's pretty simple, easy to follow. If you sold MMTLP, you will no longer have the right to the dividend. If you bought the MMTLP, you now do have the right to the dividend. The preferred shares will simply turn into cash in your account. When fully paid out, they will go away. The value of MMTLP does not tell you the value of the dividend. They could be worth 1 penny, they could be worth whatever they are now, $1.70 or $5, but if the dividend is worth $10 or $20 or even more, again, the price of MMTLP has no bearing on that. Will not affect the value of the dividend. And last point, no one knows if the MMTLP or dividend will be more valuable. Well, we have some estimates, and we're looking at 10 dollars at the lower end. High end, maybe $40. But we'll see. It no longer matters what anyone did or did not have in June. Number one, what is this? Star. Wrinkle to this is that it may become spin-off shares into a holdings company that just holds Torchlight assets if they had not been completely sold off by the end of December, 6 months from the merger. Just the same, there's no telling what the value will ever be or which is better. So yeah, that's a really good post, and I think that's enough said for that. Move on to the next post. Trying to catch up with MMAT the last couple weeks now.
Recording in progress.
And to be honest, I'm just going to be really, just open up here. I've kind of, not that I've given up, but I've kind of reached a point where I've been waiting so long for a big announcement, and I'm kind of lapsed. You could say I've kind of lapsed into just stoicism. I don't really care anymore. I'm just going to wait. I don't care at all. I mean, I'm not worried, but I'm not too hyped. So I'm kind of even keel. So that's why I've kind of stepped back from the channel. I'm kind of, right now I'm balancing 4 different YouTube channels at the moment. So this one is kind of I put this one on the back burner just because there's not so much going on, to be honest, right now. I think in the new year, in 2022, we're going to see a lot of big developments for Metamaterials and this channel. But again, my situation here is a little unstable. The interim CFO of Metamaterials is also the CFO of Carbon Cure Technologies. They are a part, that's 2 different words, not one word, of the world's largest capture facility. What's a capture facility? Okay, I don't know what it means. They're in the Permian Basin. Oh, they just happen to be the ones who won the contest that Elon Musk had for carbon removal. Keith Abriel is our CFO at Exchange Co. So that is really interesting. Man, that is a potential. There's a lot of potential with this carbon cure thing. So, is he still in charge of Carbon Cure? Microsoft invested in Carbon Cure Technologies, a Canadian firm seeking to slash the carbon dioxide emissions of concrete. What in the world? What is going on with this Carbon Cure? So it's like you buy Meta and you're also into Carbon Cure? Is that what's going on? This is on the Torchlight land. It looks to me like a lot of quarry or concrete plant. If this is what it's looking an awful lot like, we'll be able to retire. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I hope so. I don't want to just retire. I just want to be able to just survive at this point. They're also mentioned one after the other in a lot of articles. Carbon Cure, okay. Carbon Cure Technologies and Metamaterials. So they seem to have a relationship. They won a $20 million prize. That's really good. They won Elon Musk's contest. There is a lot in this post. What in the world? So here's Carbon Cure. Yeah, he might be wrong. He might be right. It was a good post. I'm really thankful for this post. This is another potential. Look at this. Kenneth Rice, Chief Financial Officer of Metamaterial Exchange Co. But he's also wait a minute, Keith Abriel resigned, but they hired Ken Rice. What is going on? Yeah, this is really speculation. It's hard to say what's going on with Carbon Cure and Metamaterials. I don't know if there's even a relationship there. But, I mean, if Carbon Cure goes public, that would be an interesting company to invest in, wouldn't it? Yeah, Carbon Cure is not publicly traded. Yeah. So that is a potential company to watch, Carbon Cure. All right, let's look at the next post. We've got a few more posts to look at, about a dozen.
Recording in progress.
So there is a backlash regarding this Carbon Cure being taking up some headlines in the Metamaterials subreddit. So this person, he put this as an opinion theory for a reason. All my DD that I post is showing our connections to big projects in the works with big companies. Feel free to peep my stock twits where I post more. My connections show that there are big players interested in the area and bigger projects going on in the area. This area is bigger than just a piece of land. Look up the largest DAC in the Permian Basin that's being built, and also look at these huge amounts of methane being released in the Permian. This is why it matters. Off topic of the dividend, but since you don't like speculation, here you go. This isn't just speculation, but in the patents, that is our manufacturing and tech products. I'm going to open that up. So that's interesting. Let's take a look at what this person posted on StockTwits, and take it with a grain of salt. But let's just see what is going on with. Okay, Metamaterials just wants to build off. Medea Group acquired Toshiba. Yeah, that's reported on that a while back regarding the microwaves. What else did he post? Okay, I don't really see anything else here. This was a little misleading. Alright, so nothing new, apparently. There's a really good video. I want to close with that Nanoweb video. We'll look at that last. Alright, I'm going to just vet these posts, make sure they're worth reading.
Recording in progress.
Alright, here's a pretty big development. It's Ken Rice confirming our microwave contract and talking about Seki Sui wanting to enshroud Japan in Nanoweb. That is a huge deal, potentially. If Japan really buys into Nanoweb, that could make Metamaterials explode just by itself. Just that potential with Japan and them really buying into Metamaterials, Nanoweb. Forget George, this guy is gold. If you think he's watched this video, he mentioned Samsung Galaxy Fold 1, but didn't mention they came out with Fold 2. Okay, I'm going to have to watch this video. I didn't really think I'd watch a video, but I'm going to watch these two videos, see just how charismatic this guy seems to be. Let's just turn on the sound here. Share set. Alright, hopefully it's not too long. It's 21 minutes. Okay, let's just watch a few seconds here. But he does talk about Seki Sui and so on. Just let it load a little bit here. Hopefully it's not too loud. Oh, I don't hear anything.
Hi, this is Carmel Fisher, and we're at the 14th edition of the LD Micro Conference here in Bel Air, California. With me is...
All right. Just gonna hear him speak for a little. Not longer than a minute, though. I made a lot of... I made some room on my computer, so there's a lot more space now, so it should load a little quicker than normal, although you do see it loading. This is going to be a long update. I think it's going to be an hour long. I don't know at the rate we're going, especially with the loading times.
Metamaterials Inc. President and CFO, Mr. Ken Rice. The ticker for Metamaterials is MMAT. Welcome, Mr. Rice.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good, thank you. You enjoying the conference so far?
So far.
So far, so good. Just to get straight into it, will you please give us a brief overview of Metamaterials?
Okay, Metamaterials is a public company on NASDAQ, as you mentioned. We focus on producing functional films that have nano patterns on them that cause light, radio waves, electromagnetic waves, and other forms of energy to behave differently than they do in nature. So if you've heard of the Cloak of Invisibility in Harry Potter, we can replicate that.
No way.
Yes.
Tell me more, please.
So what we're able to do is, if you look at over history, the changes in science and technology have usually been driven by material science. So I talk to people about, we didn't leave the Stone Age because we ran out of stones. We left the Stone Age because somebody discovered bronze and found out that it would make better tools and weapons than rocks. Well, if we look at what's happened over the last 50 years or so, we've gone from computer systems that would take out whole rooms to now things that can sit like your tablet and do a lot more with a lot less space. In fact, there's a series of rules called Moore's Law. It says the more and more and more things you can shrink, the faster and more production you can get out of stuff. And we're now in an age of what we describe as invisible materials. And what our materials do is we can take at a nanoscale, very, very small scale, put patterns on plastics or glass or other things. And when a light wave hits one of our products, it can reflect in a different way. It can filter. So for example, if you're an airline pilot and you're flying your plane and somebody aims a laser in your face, that laser is oftentimes green laser. And we make glasses for pilots that have a metafilm applied to them, and it reflects the green laser light, keeps the pilot safe, but doesn't change his visibility in any of the other color spectrums. Everything else looks exactly the same, but it keeps the laser light away from his eyes.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. I think I pretty much get the gist of what he's presenting. He's just trying to explain metamaterials, what they do, why it's important. But yeah, he's pretty straightforward. He's not so much of a just trying to hype up, the company based on what it isn't, but he's just really just explaining it factually and in simple terms. So I appreciate the way you presented metamaterials and the energy too. Seems to be a good, he seems to be competent, I should say, in that field. So look how far we've come. This is one of our CTO Jonathan Waldron's projects from 1986. When you look at where we are today with tech, it is really incredible. Would have thought back then this stuff would ever be possible. Jonathan Waldron did. So this is 1 minute and 12 seconds. Let's see if what this is about. Really good find. Okay, let's take a look at this. I'll just shrink myself. Oh, there's no sound.
Phone listening for audible clicks emitted
Just
from
rewind
through.
that.
You could even navigate within it by moving.
Yeah, to the beginning, please.
You could even navigate within it by moving around the entire unit, which contained a microphone listening for audible clicks emitted from 3 fixed speakers to triangulate its position.
I don't see why that's why is that important.
It might seem a little crude today, but to the viewing public in 1986, this was cutting-edge technology. And thanks to John and the Human-Computer Interface Research Unit at Loughborough University, it was reality. However, in these early days, investors were still too scared and indeed lacking in knowledge to pour cash into John's vision.
It was a concept to us that was perfectly clear, but to others that we went to for financing, it was crazy. They just couldn't imagine it.
By October 1987, John had teamed up with software engineer Al Humrick, ex-Rolls-Royce employee Richard Holmes and ex-Marconi employee Terry Rowley to form W Industries, and literally worked from their garages to create a viable commercial product.
Alright, so
Using an Amiga 2000 as its base, various prototypes were created, including a system tethered by the top and known as the Giraffe.
alright, so it says Jonathan Waldron was part of that project, and now he's in Metamaterials, so that's interesting. Okay, we still have a few more tabs to look at. Q3. Anyone have any insight to the details? Well, we don't know yet. It's coming up for sure. I remember covering Q2, and that seemed to help people because when I covered that video, it was one of the first people to post about it. So that is going to, it says it's dropping ahead of earnings. Yeah. It's Monday the 15th. I believe it's this Friday. Okay, so it's coming up this month, the Q3. So it's been 3 months. So 3 months ago was August. Yeah. Wow. I can't believe it's already at Q3. Time has gone by pretty quickly. All right. BlackRock. They reported a 217% holding increase in Metamaterials. BlackRock did. They hold almost 14 million shares. I don't know else to tell you. This is one of the biggest reasons to be in Metamaterials. You got Vanguard in the party. You've got BlackRock in the party. Like, these are two of the biggest entities in the stock market today. Does it mean they're going to short? I mean, you know what? They're there. This could go up. This could go down. But if they are not there, I would be concerned. But since they are there, they see a potential to not only short it, but a potential to make a lot of money from it. And this is not something you buy. They wouldn't buy this if it wasn't a good price. So they do see the potential. If they don't have any shares and they bought, let's say they bought at $20, that would bode well for the company too. But they see the potential in this company. They probably understand just how Metamaterials as a company is connected to the federal government of the United States, of Canada, and so on, and aerospace, military, and so on. So, everything seems to be connected, and BlackRock and Vanguard are, you could say they know things we don't. Let's just put it that way. All right, this is a little meme here. It's a cat on a peanut butter sandwich. It has nothing to do with the stock. It's just funny. All right. Beyond is beyond. Yeah, go beyond. MMAX converting to MMAT. This is actually a pretty big post right here. Going to make this short and sweet. I received a call from a broker today that MMAX shares are finally converting to MMAT shares this Friday. That's today. So later today, these MMAX shares are going to convert. I have an account that I requested the exchange of 1,700 MMAX to MMAT in September. I have since sold these shares and have reinvested the proceeds to Metamaterials long call options. Broker calls me today informing me, because I am the one who requested this exchange, that when it happens, I will be short 1,700 MMAX shares. My account will go negative, cash, whatever. 1,700 MMAX shares exchange for. I will receive 1,700 MMAT shares on Friday when it exchanges. which is beyond my understanding on why and how I am still involved with these shares since they are sold now since a month ago. Good question. He seemed to be pushing me to come up with $10,000 to purchase these shares today. He's stressing this. I told him not to purchase these shares today. That would put my portfolio short. Told him wouldn't that cause me to have to sell off positions to cover 10K. I told him 1,700 shares would cover the 10K regardless if I sold. MMAX shows 0 volume today. I'm definitely not the only one who got this call. Screw the brokers, let it exchange. I'll figure out on Friday if I owe 1,700 shares at today's price and had 1,700 MMAT shares to sell and pay, there would be a profit of $793. So it seems a little complicated, but it seems that the bottom line is MMAX is converting to MMAT. It says all of the above. We should see a pop due to influx of latent conversions. And I did notice another post where a lot of people are betting that a lot of the options will close above $5 this week, but we'll see. The insider ownership of Meta is massive. I can't say massive. I have a lisp now. The actual float is small. Most of us probably have been buying synthetic shares for months because media makers or market makers and hedge funds sold them to us, never giving a care. Chicken's gonna come home to roost. Yeah. So anyway, MMAX seems to be converting to MMAT, which could drive the price up. Why MMTLP is worth your time and money is not a distraction. That's a good post. You got me at the title already. To those of you wondering what the deal is concerning the price of MMTLP being so cheap, it is in fact being shorted into oblivion as well. I agree. This is an attempt to lower the price and scare holders into selling so the short hedge funds can cover gradually and not get utterly slammed via squeeze or when the land sells. I do not know how well this has or has not been working for them, but I have a feeling this may backfire. Nevertheless, the reason we should buy MMTLP is simple. All the recent estimates give a range that is way higher than it is now added the way. All informed estimates in the past gave a range that is on average much higher than what is valued at currently, back when the price per barrel of oil was way less than it is now. And that's what I said as well. Long story short, the odds are handedly in your favor that you make a lot of money with a dividend. So let's say, the estimates were, I believe, between $5 to $20 at the high end. And again, this is when the price of oil was a lot lower. I'd say the price of oil probably doubled by now. So you're looking at least $10 to maybe $40. So that's how much the dividend is worth. And that seems to be a popular topic of discussion. It was a popular video of mine here as well. How much is the dividend actually worth? Most likely between $10 to $40. Could be 50, but I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. But I'm betting it's going to be at least 10 per dividend. Why this is not a distraction from Meta is because when the dividend is issued and or the spin-off company, Oilco or whatever it is bought, if the dividend is high, the higher the more likely, and not only are people naturally inclined to take the money and stick some or all of it into Meta. I don't like that stick. Let's just say take the money and invest it into Meta. But also, this is the important part. This is a double whammy for shorts. If the shorts have to cover a lot of $7 dividends, then we take our dividend money and we pour it into Meta. If Meta was ever going to squeeze, it will be right then and there. It's a good point. Buy MMTLP so that you can pour your extra cash from it into Meta because to cause the squeeze. So that's a good point. It's like what I said in the past about GameStop. If GameStop squeezes, GameStop retail investors will then go into AMC, or vice versa. AMC will help GameStop to squeeze. But we haven't really seen that take place, except for maybe AMC squeezing to 60, 70. So I bought MMTLP and holding till the end. Seriously not expecting big money, but at a minimum I want to break even. If the dividend is sub -1, that would suck. Why would it be that low? Doesn't make sense. I'm gonna downvote that. It will not be below -1. I couldn't agree more. Holding 4,000, I bought 8,000, and I'm over 11,000 shares, or 11,000 MMTLP. How do you know it will be $7? I don't. They said between 7 and 14. I don't know. I saw between 5 to 10, 5 to 20. So we're looking at least 10 to 20. At the high end, 40, but let's just say 10 to 20. Yeah, I agree with this point too. 10 to 15 is realistic. So you still can buy it. This is going to be really interesting because I do predict that we won't be able to buy MMTLP in the last half of December, because again, these dividends, the Torchlight assets have to be sold off by the 28th, so we won't be able to buy it on the 28th. Could the MMTLP be removed from being traded leading up to that? Probably a week or two before that. So that's going to be interesting to see how that will pan out. Okay. So Ken Rice, yeah, he seems to know what he's talking about. I kind of want to watch this offline. But let's just close out with Nanoweb. They did post a really cool video regarding Nanoweb, and I watched this. This is the second time I'm watching it now. I don't believe there's any audio, but it's 2 minutes long. So let's just take a look at this. Kind of debating whether I should watch Ken Rice offline or online. Maybe I'll do it online. I don't know if people mind watching an hour-long video of me just getting caught up to speed with Meta. I mean, this is what this channel is about, right? It's Metamaterials and investing. Nanoweb is a 2D metal mesh. Okay, that's a little too fast. It's a 2D metal mesh of continuous invisible wires offering the highest level of transparency. It's invisible to the human eye, so we see right through it. It heats up quickly with low voltage, so it has a high conductivity. It can reach up to 70 degrees Celsius in less than a minute. So why is that important? Well, think of cars. That could be really useful in the winter, but could be a disadvantage in the summer. Nanoweb is transparent and durable. Okay, so that's a big plus. It's a big advantage. You can see the charging there. The voltage, it can be thermoformed, so it can be shaped to whatever shape you need it to be. This is incredible right here. On the left is Nanoweb, and on the right is regular glass or plastic. That is something. Wow. That sold me. Just this little, that sold me. Right? Let's just look at that one more time. That really defies physics. They just proved, like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. But look at that. That is not just anti-fog. There is zero fog, no condensation. That is going to change the world, in my opinion. So, Nanoweb. Wow. This video should have 1 million views. Anti-fog, like true anti-fog, not just, little lessens fog a little bit. No, this really, you can see there's nothing at all, not even a little condensation. That is amazing. Wow. Nanoweb can shield signals, so that can help you if you want to, not be exposed to EMF or wireless technology. People think of, tinfoil hats or aluminum, but Nanoweb actually kills the signal as well. Can be used for transparent antennas, so think of 5G and so on. So that's it. Oh, no, there's more. Military. There you go. De-icing application. So, again, really good for those who don't want to scrape their windows ever again. And then for grocery stores, EMI shielding, that's electromagnetic interference and radio frequencies. And increases solar efficiency. I mean, there's so many applications for this tech. It's one of the only viable alternatives to ITO conductive films. And I did think of something in the middle of this. I just forgot what my train of thought is. But yeah, 5G. Military. Oh, this is really going to change the world. Just this Nanoweb alone. Yeah, so it does shield. What I wanted to say was, not only does it, is it anti-fog, it's anti-glare, it's anti-laser. It seems to be all in one. It's anti-fog, anti-laser, it's shields from EMI, can kill signals. It seems to be such a versatile material, this Nanoweb. And that's not the only thing Meta has. This is only one of many patents they have. So this Nanoweb just alone is going to be a potential multi-million dollar productivity or potential cash cow for them. It's going to make them a lot of money, and shareholders as well. There's so much potential there. So I want to watch the rest of this video. I was going to do it offline, might as well just do it right now.
We call that Meta Air. It's our first product. We made it in for the aerospace industry. So our focus is on applying these patterns to these functional films, and then working with our customers to identify applications that are important to them. And so one could look at this as being driven by a number of megatrends in the industry. I'm sure you're familiar with 5G telephones, except if you have one now, it's probably 4G,
Right.
even though they say it's 5G. And the reason for that is actually pretty basic. 5G signals at their optimum are very, very high frequency, like millimeter waves. And the challenge that the industry faces today is when those signals are broadcast, they're usually absorbed by the first thing they hit. They don't actually get through the buildings or through the glass, except at very low frequency. So if you have 28 gigahertz of broadcast, by the time it gets into the building, it might be a third of that, which means you're at 4G or maybe even 3G plus.
Right.
So the promise of 5G isn't being met today, and the only way to meet it today is with more and more broadcast stations. That takes power, and they're ugly. So if you think
Right.
about, so what our technology does in that indication is we can take a fully transparent piece of film. It looks just like clear plastic, but it's very flexible. Mm-hmm. That film has a pattern on it that will see the 5G signal and reflect it down. So it can, when it hits the building, it gets reflected down to the street, and you walking on the street can pick up the signal on your cell phone. Or if it hits a window and you want it to actually come into the space, our film can also, with a different pattern, act like a booster antenna and allow the signal to get through. And it's all passive and completely transparent. so it doesn't
Right.
affect the look and feel of the building. Well, that application alone is probably worth $3 to $5 billion a year.
Wow.
We're working with a very large chemical company in Japan called Sekisui. They approached us about a year ago. This is public information.
Right.
And they said, we want to work with you. We have a very large telecom company in Japan as our customer. And the way they describe it is they basically want to enshroud the whole country of Japan in our film so that
Wow.
everywhere 5G is broadcast, it
Right.
can get through and into the buildings. We have other areas that we work in, for example, in consumer electronics. In your microwave in the kitchen,
Yes.
if you look through the door, it's very hard to see, right? Because all these wires in there.
Right.
The reason those wires are there is not to make it hard for you to see. It's to keep the electromagnetic radiation inside the microwave. Microwaves emit that kind of
Right.
radiation. So the reason those wires were put in the door in the first place was to retain the EMI. We had the world's largest producer of microwaves come to us about a year ago and say, we want you guys to make us a completely transparent door that still keeps the EMI inside the microwave. And we said, okay, fine. So we built this film, different pattern. In this case, the pattern's on the inside and it reflects the signal back into the microwave.
Right.
And not only did we make the door completely transparent, but we also doubled the retention of EMI inside the microwave.
Wow.
And this company that we're working with makes 40 million microwaves a year.
Incredible.
So,
Can you speak more about the technology involved with that?
yeah. So it's hard to do without a picture, but if you think about what we do, we etch patterns onto the surface of plastic. So if you want a light wave to reflect, you basically make a shape on the surface of the plastic. So when the light hits it, it refracts differently. It reflects differently. There's a phenomenon in nature. I forget the name of I think it's a special butterfly that has the most incredibly gorgeous blue wings. Except there are no pigments in the wings.
Oh.
There's no color at all in the wings of this butterfly. If you look at those butterfly wings under an electron microscope, you'll see these nano patterns. And it's those patterns that cause the light to bounce around differently and create the colors. So we just bought a company, actually 3 weeks ago now, called Nanotech Security. And Nanotech is in the business of producing highly specialized nano patterns on films that provide security to banknotes and to upscale brands. And on the banknote security side, they have those little strips that you see on the banknotes that if you twist them, you can
Right.
see a shape or a color or a change.
Right.
Again, no ink. This is all done using patterns. In their case, it's multiple billions of holes that reflect the light a certain way. And they're all designed by a computer. So the technology that we have at the core is an understanding of how to design those patterns and optimize them such that the material does what we want it to do. What's also important, however, is if you look at your cell phone today, the screen on your cell phone is conductive. It picks up your fingers, it's also made out of something called indium tin oxide as a coating. ITO is a rare earth metal. It's scarce, it's extremely expensive, can only source it in Asia, and it's brittle. So one of the reasons Samsung's first foldable phone didn't work was because of the ITO.
Right.
You folded it enough, it broke.
Huh.
And our material doesn't use any rare earth metals. It uses copper or aluminum or silver or
Right.
those kinds of things. They're done on plastics that are very, very, very malleable. We use about a tenth of the thickness of what's required for ITO today. And so the technology all came from, one way to think about it, it's all physics. And we have a lot of really smart engineers in our company that understand the physics of light and radio waves and electromagnetic waves. And what made me join the company I joined in December, was that we're also working in the medical field.
Well, okay. Tell
And
us more.
we have a couple areas that we work in. We work in imaging, we work in wireless sensing. In the imaging space, I spent a lot of my life doing diagnostic imaging and central nervous system disorders and cardiovascular things. And so when I found out first about Meta, I was very excited by what we were doing in the imaging space, because we have, using our films, we can cause a magnetic resonance image machine, MRI, to work at up to 40 times better performance than what you can see today with the technology. And we do that by applying our film to a special device that you just, if you're a patient, you put this device under your back and it modulates the frequency so that you get 40x, up to 40x, the improvement in signal. And you don't need to use a bigger magnet, you don't need to spend a lot of time in the machine. So we can take a scan that would today require an hour and a half, and do it in 10 or 15 minutes with resolution that's never been seen before.
Incredible.
It's
and
just
groundbreaking,
really amazing.
sounds
Yeah.
like it too.
We worked in breast cancer. In fact, the company was founded by our CEO to do non-ionizing radiation breast cancer screening. Uses microwaves to look at tissue, and what it does is it allows us to enable women that are, in their 20s to get scanned very quickly, easily, safely,
Right.
establish a baseline
Accurately.
and accurately, and track it over time
Right.
with no ionizing radiation. And again, it's one of these tools that if we see something in our scan that looks questionable, then we can say, go get a confirming scan, but you're only going to do that when you need to,
Right.
as opposed to using it as a prophylactic. We also have the capability, using that same technology, to differentially diagnose strokes. So if somebody has an ischemic stroke, that can be treated, if it's discovered quickly enough, with a drug called TPA. But if you give a hemorrhagic stroke victim TPA, you can hurt them very badly. And so we have technology that we're developing that can be used in the ambulance to maximize this magic 3-hour window that TPA has to get on board with stroke. So those were the things that really were exciting to me on the diagnostic side. And then the other thing we do, which is really, really exciting, is we have technology in development now for completely non-invasive glucose monitoring. So we can monitor in type 2 diabetics, type 1 diabetics, and pre-diabetic people with no needles. So if we look at what's out there today, there's products from Abbott like Freestyle Libre and Dexcom. They are minimally invasive, but they still have needles.
Right.
Ours are needleless. It takes advantage of the fact that we apply our Meta film to the device, and it makes the skin invisible to the device. It doesn't hurt us, but it modulates the frequency and allows both infrared light and radio waves to get directly through the skin into the interstitial fluid in the body and find the glucose.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, moving on to more of a corporate discussion. Can you touch some light on your two new leaders appointed within the company?
We've in the last 8 months, we've actually grown almost a complete C-suite.
Wonderful.
George Palikaris is our CEO and founder. Just a wonderful guy, really, really clever. And when I joined in December of last year, he was actually really lonely. He didn't have a lot of direct reports that were able to leverage his time and offload some of his work. We've added since then. I joined in December. Dr. Jonathan Waldron joined at the same time as our Chief Technical Officer. Scott Richards joined as our Chief Marketing Officer. And we have Gardner Wade has joined as our Chief Product Officer. So we've built out a C-suite in part to account for the fact that we are now a very different company than we were a year ago. When I joined in December, the market value of Meta was $30 million Canadian. Today it's 1.6 billion
Right.
US. That's a very different world, a
Very
different
different
kind of
world.
company to run. So we're very excited about the new people, and we're not done.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be keeping our eye out on that. Give us a quick history on, as you mentioned, the change in the corporation, what you're growing towards, and also how the stock is affected.
Okay. Well, Meta, like most companies of our stage and size, we went public for the first time in Canada in March of 2020. We did that via a reverse triangular reorg with a company that was a shell in Canada. The goal was to get public on the Canadian Stock Exchange and then very rapidly migrate to NASDAQ. And then COVID came. So things slowed down a little.
Right.
So in the fall of last year, we were approached by a number of entities actually, but the most aggressive of them in terms of opportunity and timing was a group called Torchlight Energy Resources. Torchlight was a company in Texas that was in the oil and gas business at a time when nobody wanted to be in the oil and gas business anymore because they had watched oil drop. But what they had was fairly strong investors. They also had a NASDAQ listing that was clean. And so we negotiated with them a reverse merger that did two things. This is in our disclosures, but what we did was we negotiated a transaction that resulted in the Metamaterials shareholders owning about 75% of the combined company post-merger, and the Torchlight shareholders owning 25% plus one other thing, which was the rights to receive whatever proceeds there were from the oil and gas assets that were still on their books at the time we closed. Those assets are still there. The plan is to either sell them or spin them out by the end of this year, at which point Meta will be completely focused on our main mission, which is the manufacture and distribution of metamaterials using sustainable materials, and will be a green company as a result. We have operations in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Pleasanton, up the coast a little, here, London, England, and we're opening a new facility in Athens in Greece, and we have satellite facilities in Boston, and now with the NTS acquisition that we just did, we're also in Vancouver and Thurso, Quebec.
Wonderful. So you touched on COVID and the impact that it had on, the changes on a corporate level. What challenges did you guys face in terms of business operations?
Great question. The challenges we faced, being in Nova Scotia, was actually a good thing. Nova Scotia was there were 3 or 4 geographies in the world that were considered uber safe.
Right.
Nova Scotia was one of them. So we didn't have so much from a physical operation standpoint with COVID. We did a lot of things to protect our people, and we continue to do that. The biggest impact we saw and continue to see is in our supply chain. And that's a global issue, not just a Canadian issue. Our business requires that we order and install fairly complex pieces of equipment. We use a lot of lasers in our business. We use a lot of things that are high technology, rely a lot on computer chips, for example, and there's a global shortage of a lot of those things. So what we found, and we're just now starting to see a little bit more consistency and stability in that channel, but for a long time we couldn't predict when our vendors could supply to us. And that makes it really challenging to plan, especially in a business that tends to run fairly tightly.
100%. All right, so a few closing remarks and perhaps touching on some growth strategies for our viewers and potential investors. What do you want them to take away from this?
Well, I'd like them to understand that we are very much an emerging growth company where our story is changing almost every hour. We're not done doing what we're doing. We intend to grow into our market cap our revenues don't match our market cap today,
They do.
but they will, and we're going to do that both organically and acquisitively.
Right.
We have an assembled group of people in our company that is really unrivaled. We have some really, really smart scientists, a lot of very good manufacturing people, especially with the NTS acquisition.
Right.
We as of now, we have 120 people in the company. What we're proud of, aside from the technology base we have, is that across that 120 people, we have 23 languages spoken in the company.
Wow.
We have almost, I think our engineering mix is just about 50-50 men to women, which
Great.
is remarkable. We're a green company, and we intend to grow the business quite a bit beyond where we are today.
Fantastic. Again, this was Mr. Ken Rice from Metamaterials Inc. with the ticker MMAT. I'm Carmel Fisher, and you're watching Sequoia Spotlight.
Okay, I'm really glad I watched that interview in full and also online. Again, I was bullish about Metamaterials before this video. That only increased significantly in a greater way because of that interview. Puts everything into perspective. Just not only are they a green company, but again, they're still in their infancy in terms of their profits, in terms of the products. It's like, compare them to Tesla before they released their, Model T or, any of their, is it Model T, but their first car. Compared to Apple before, Steve Jobs came back and then they started to release, the iPod, the iPhone, or I should say the iMac first, and the iPod, and various iterations of that, and then eventually the iPhone and the iPad, and now getting into the EV market, they're going to have an Apple car. So this is where I see Metamaterials right now. They're kind of at the stage where Apple was before they saw their renaissance, where they blew up again. Metamaterials is still growing. They're kind of like, I guess you could say, like Nintendo was before they became a big player in the video game industry. They were only making arcade machines. And then when they went into the home console business, they became the number one, the biggest. They became the biggest company in that area of video games. Metamaterials is propping themselves up to be the biggest company in the metamaterial industry, to be the pioneer and the go-to for all the phone makers who are running out of, again, the indium tin oxide, which is that material that is needed for the touch screens. Let me just increase my stop sharing. I'll just do a screen right here. Yeah, so again, ITO, as was described by Ken Rice there, is one of the most, it's a very scarce material. It is used for touch screens. It's very important, and it's costly. It isn't produced, I should say, you heard what he said, basically. It's a scarce material. It is, the problem is running out of ITO, indium tin oxide, and that is needed going forward if we're going to make more phones. Apple, Samsung, Nokia, etc., whoever else makes phones. So that is it's not an option to go without it. So an alternative material is Metamaterials, what they produce, and might be Nanoweb, might be something else, but the point being, Apple, Samsung, Nokia, name the phone company, they're going to have to line up somewhere and get this material somewhere once the ITO runs out. What are they going to use? Could it be Nanoweb? Is that going to be the alternative in the long term? And if so, that means Metamaterials will explode just on that alone. There's so many potential areas they can really explode. And so, although I did become a little lapsed and somewhat impatient regarding this company, looking at the bigger picture, the future is so bright. I can see them being one of the biggest companies in the world, alongside Tesla, Apple, Google, Facebook. You know, they're right up there with Microsoft and all those companies that are going to lead the charge into the future for these technologies that are needed and people don't realize they need yet, but will probably want and need in terms of AR, in terms of the anti-fog, anti-laser, looking at the EV market, how their technology can be used in windshields and so on with invisible 5G. There's just so much. The possibilities seem endless for this company. And so that's why this is the darling of the channel. I can't think of any other comparable company to Metamaterials besides maybe an Apple, Tesla, Microsoft maybe. But that can go in so many different directions and really make a killing, and it's so undervalued. The stock is worth less than $5. You compare it to the other big, tech giants, or in the triple digits. Metamaterials, if I'm just forecasting and estimating how much they would be worth in the next 5 to 10 years, very easily in the triple digits. Very easily. Look at AMD, look at these chip makers. I think they're going to be right up there, if not triple digits, at least $50. But Metamaterials, looking at all these possibilities, I'm going to do a video on just why the stock is, top 10 reasons why this stock is so bullish for. I might do that tomorrow, I don't know, but when that comes out, it comes out. So thank you very much for your time. This is the update for Metamaterials and also the stock update. I'm kind of doing it weekly now, just kind of distancing myself from the market at this point, unless something really crazy goes on. I think I'll just track it daily, but not really post videos daily unless it is something I feel is really significant. So thank you very much for all your support over the weeks and months. There's still a lot more to cover, as you know, with the dividend and moving forward, looking at Metamaterials reach its full potential. So thanks again. Please hit the like button, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell as well, and all those things. I know people just say that because it's just, it's routine, but I'm saying this because there is a possibility that if you don't reach a certain amount of, say it's likes, but in my opinion, I think it's subscribes. If you don't reach a certain amount, whether it's 1,000 or 10,000, YouTube might even shut down some of these channels. I think you're at risk of being shut down, and your ability to grow actually is limited if you don't reach a certain threshold of numbers. So that's why I do say that, not so much just because it's the thing to do, but because it really affects the future of this channel going forward. So thank you very much again. Until next time, have a great weekend, and may God bless you all, and God bless your investments.